Welcome to the AI for Interior Designers podcast, where creativity meets cutting edge technology. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of artificial intelligence and explore how it's revolutionizing the interior design industry. From AI powered design tools to the latest trends and innovations, we've got you covered. So plug in, relax, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. Welcome to AI for Interior Designers podcast. P.S. This intro was written by and voiced by AI to sound like your host, Jenna.
Hey designers, welcome back for episode 69 of the AI for Interior Designers podcast. I'm your host, Jenna. And today I would like to talk about rendering and how we have traditionally done it. Is it still relevant? And where's it going now that AI is here? So I had the honor of being asked to interview with Business of Home earlier this week for an article about is rendering dead? And so, it's a topic that I discuss daily. It's just, something that I'm constantly talking about, but I feel like maybe I should just, lay it all out and kind of say where we are right now, what I predict is going to be happening, and how I'm currently using renders or not using renders, and how I'm seeing other professionals in the industry. So, first off, I'm going to start out by saying if you are a render artist, if you are a designer that renders, does plans, drawings, all of that stuff, I think that if you are informed, educated, and bring something that is like a second set of eyes to the table, not just, somebody that's outsourcing something that they're constantly double checking to make sure is correct. Like that happens every once in a while. But typically, if you are doing plans for somebody or renders for somebody, you know what you're doing, right? Like a lot of the render companies that I know of, like they're just great at what they do. They really are. So I don't want to make it sound like your job is in jeopardy here. Okay. Your job's going to change though. And that's something that we probably need to have a conversation about because it's just the way technology is going. We didn't always even render. Like we have to remember that, right? It came from hand drawing plans forever. That's how it was done until like recently, right? Where we got technology and computers. And now we're just next step to make those processes better and eventually more accurate. Not now though. Not accurate at this point. There are some programs, definitely there's some plugins in BIM software, like the heavy render floor plan CD softwares, you'll start to see AI coming in, stable diffusion, different generative parts and components of AI into your software. But at this point in time, it does not replace what the human does. It just doesn't. It doesn't replace what a professional, trained, and educated designer or in this realm, even if you're not a designer, because a lot of the most technical people that I know are the ones that work on CAD and do the drawings, and they are very, very detail oriented. And for me, I'm not. Like I am on some things when I hyper focus, but I am very much a creative high level. So I love that, just from knowing people that renderers and technical drawers are technical people, and they are typically a second set of eyes for designers. And that's why a lot of designers like to use them. They know that they could probably bring it in-house. They could probably do it themselves, but they want to be able to offer something that's more of a luxury, end result and deliverable, or they don't have the bandwidth, or they just are not, that's not their thing. And they need somebody to just have that second set of eyes to say, is that going to fit? Is that going to look good? Like just another disconcerting, if that's the right word, I don't know, set of eyes to just make sure that everything flows and makes sense, right? So throughout the years, we've evolved. We know that. I started with hand drafting in design school. My first year, I had a French professor, and she was rough because I am not how do I want to put this? I'm not good at drawing, but also I have really bad penmanship, like really bad. If I was smart enough to be a doctor, I think I would have fit in that group over there. But again, not a detail oriented analytical type person. My brain just doesn't really work that way unless if I am like truly into a topic. So with that being said, I struggled with doing floor plans because I don't write well, even if I have a stencil. And you can't use a stencil forever to write your uppercase letters, right? So, yeah, I was excited to learn Google SketchUp when that came out when I was in design school because I love tech, you know? If you've listened to any other episode or anything I do, you know that. But you also know that I'm a designer myself. So articulating the ideas in my mind has always been a struggle for me because I can't draw to save my life. So now that I don't have to do that type of stuff and I can communicate using technology, oh, what a game changer that was. And so I came in at the right time. But think about like the students that are going through school now and what they're still learning. I'm starting to see more and more programs evolve and adapt to AI technology, but I'm not seeing them drop programs as frequently. So they're still teaching them, even if they're going to be antiquated in 3 years, because how can you not? It's too soon to adjust curriculum, I guess. Here's a for instance. I hired my intern. So she was a student and now she's my assistant, Anne. And local design school here, Charleston School of Interior Design. Carrie is on our board. She's the founder, absolutely wonderful, but she's on our board for IDS. And that's how I got connected with Anne. I was looking for somebody local. And so last year, I kind of put out my feelers and I said, I'm looking for somebody that has a design background because not everything I do is technical and teaching. And so I still have clients and I'm going to need some help with that, which she has been helping me. And oh my gosh, it's been absolutely wonderful. So, hey, shout out Anne, doing a great job. But Anne mentioned a couple weeks ago that, technically she still has one more class and that class is SketchUp. And I was like, don't even. If you don't already know it, I told her, I was like, we're never gonna use that. Like I'm gonna tell you what I do instead, but that could be something you could outsource. So if you haven't learned SketchUp, do you? That's the question that I actually get a lot in my email. And I don't want to advise somebody the wrong thing because honestly, we all just kind of are going with the flow at this point. I have more education behind the current technology situation, I think, than most, obviously. But I also would never deter somebody from doing something because they really wanted to do it and it felt right to them. Okay. So if learning SketchUp and all that stuff is still right to you, then please, by all means, do not listen to anything I'm about to say. But if you haven't learned SketchUp, if you haven't learned these programs yet, it's almost like this time where you need to catch your breath for a second, focus on the tools that you already know and see how they've adapted in the past 2 years now that AI has probably infiltrated those tools in some capacity to make some part of your workflow faster within the softwares that you're already using. But where else can you maybe look to the future and see, is that going to be obsolete? Is learning this extensive tool that for many people is a constant learning, like you're just always learning something. I've taught renders for years. My previous company, eDesign Tribe, I adapted a rendering API, so another program, and rebuilt a lot of that into a program that I had developed. Um, and then, my Doma acquired that. So I have been rendering and teaching rendering since I started doing this. Like that is what my visual communication as a virtual designer has always been. But I will say in the past almost 2 years now, as I said in the Business of Home article, I haven't rendered. I have done floor plans, but I have not rendered three-dimensional renderings because nobody wanted to pay for them. So I gave options. There was always the option to include a scaled, accurate, 3D rendering that comes from the 2D plan that I'm already building. So in the softwares that I use, for instance, my Doma Visualizer, that is building in 2 dimension and 3 dimension at the same time. I'm just not going through and finding the same exact product, applying the materials, adjusting the lighting, getting my camera set up. I'm not doing any of that. I do a floor plan with accurate measurements, and then I can export that with all of my, just measurements and like construction information. If I was doing an elevation, I could also do an elevation and export those out of the software too. But I'm not doing that level of detail personally. So I have stopped rendering and offering it as a upsell, basically, which is something that I had done like all the time, but everybody always chose the renders because I didn't have this other alternative, which I now have worked in. And that's using AI and the concept boards that I create in the empty space, or basically taking the information from the floor plan, describing it to rebuild it if it doesn't have a floor plan, and then and then dropping in the actual real products. So it looks exact space, exact products, drop them in a room, but scale is not accurate. Okay. However, using Google and Nano Banana, which is highly accurate for real products, and rendering them into a space, I'm able to give them the visual that they need. And that is the reason why we did renderings before, at least for me, to be able to sell that job because, or the design, because the concept boards are great, right? But it's two-dimensional. Eventually, everybody was doing them. Anybody that had a Canva or a background remover on their phone was just kind of creating their own concept boards anyway. So, like that, once the technology got better for just plain concept boards, there was this whole group of DIYers that was like, oh, well, I don't even need an e-designer now. So now a lot of this is just the evolution of the technology getting better for both professionals, where we can now say, here's the design concept, here's the floor plan, so you can see how everything fits. And spatially, you can understand how this is going to look. And then you could even take it a step further, and you can take that image that you generated of the products in the space, same program. You'll go into Gemini, or I mean, really any of the video programs, and you're just going to animate it. You're going to say, walk forward in the space and focus in on, there's a ton of different prompts I could give you. I teach them in my video class, but they're all, slightly different because it depends on what you're trying to animate into a video. So, just a key tip for you though, if you are trying to basically show spatial, or lifestyle, like people walking in, a dog jumping on a bed, to animate what used to be just an empty room and a concept board that you've then combined into this AI render that shows the space, can now become this animated and almost interactive way to understand how this design is going to come together, right? Our attention spans are low. We don't have a lot of bandwidth going on up there these days. So if you can just show me how my dog's going to come in and mess up the entire rug or jump on the couch or, whatever, like that's cute and it kind of adds more to it, but it also does more than a flat two-dimensional board does when you're trying to convey how they're going to feel, how they're going to live in that space, right? If you can animate that image that just took you 90 seconds to create from your assets that you already had as a professional, then you could take it that step further and really enhance your client experience, right? So I just want you to think about that, because I know how long it takes to render and to get video renders, right? We also have VR headsets. Somehow, like now I get super like motion sickness using VR headsets. I don't know. All of a sudden I'm like just old or something, but like I get so dizzy and like my stomach like just feels nauseous. It's weird. So I don't use as much VR anymore as I used to, because like I just become this like old lady when it comes to VR technologies. I get motion sickness, and so I don't use them, but in moderation. But either way, like we were doing them and I do love them for a walkthrough experience. But now, if we don't have to put a bulky headset on, and if we can just seam together images that are short little walkthrough clips of this scene, and then this scene, and then this scene, you can literally create a conceptual design render with real products and real space in like 2 hours. I mean, I'm talking like full walkthrough, right? Like it does not take long. I know some people that really just never even got the handle of doing that in some of these programs. And that's totally cool. Like you guys are awesome at other things. So not everything is for everybody, right? Like I don't like to read. That's my problem. Just mostly because, I'm everywhere with it. It's hard. So anyway, but I get it. Like it's not for everybody. And it would take them forever to produce either a VR walkthrough tour that they could embed or have their client tour in a VR headset or the video of their rendering. And so I get it. It's time consuming and time is money. And, we don't necessarily charge, hopefully, for learning a program, right? The people pay you to be a professional. Sometimes we have to just learn things on the fly because things change, programs don't work anymore the same way that they used to, and we need alternatives. So, anyway, with all of that being said, like, I just don't see the need to sit here and spend 10, 14 hours meticulously applying materials, adding, the math to it to make sure that it renders correctly and it shows the textures and the shine or, whatever material it is in the right lighting with accurate color. Like it's just so time consuming, even if you're good at it. Even if you're good at it, like we obsess over it. And I know that if you're a render, like if you like to render, you probably like to render because you obsess over it, like me. But then it sucks your life away. Like, I guess it's better than sitting and scrolling on social media, but I would sit here and I would adjust that freaking cup on a table for like 20 minutes. I'm like, that's money. Take the cup off, Jenna, and move on. Like, it's so silly. But that's the perfectionism that goes into renderings, especially because they're to scale, right? So when I say I am not offering the full-on render and I am providing, a 90-second thing that I did using the concept board with all the furniture pieces that I created in Canva. That's where I'm making those. Photoshop too. I'm a Photoshop girl forever, but honestly, Canva just does it all now. So I canceled that a while ago. But wherever you're doing your design boards, like you're just making sure that it's laid out right and it's accurate. And then it is very easy to drop it into a space. Okay, if you don't know how to do that, happy to show you in a class. We do this a lot in our visual communication for interior designers is a CEU class that I have that we go over that, but many others, trust me. We do a lot of this. So anyway, we can avoid having to add this fee, which, sometimes can start at 1,500 for an image. I've heard designers paying like 4 grand for an image, one angle of a rendering because they needed to be able to sell it to their client. Who wants to pay for that? There is a luxury market that will. However, that luxury market also might be fairly tech savvy and also might see the value in time and know that instead of paying for one image, they might be able to get a better sofa, right? Like they could potentially reinvest that money that would have gone into this time suck of a visual to be able to reallocate that funds. Maybe you could charge more for something else and just say, hey, I can now do this as a video instead. So maybe you just reallocate the time, not even necessarily remove stuff from your service levels, your service prices. Because hopefully you're still growing and increasing pricing every year. But realistically, I think we can remove a lot of that built-in render cost to be able to show this to a client, unless if maybe you do have that luxury market where like that value of a scaled drawing is important to them and they need that. But if you propose something different and say, look, I can give you killer renderings, they're just not going to be entirely to scale, but they're going to be, I've checked the floor plan. I know everything fits. I just want to be able to visually show you in a matter of minutes, like literally on the spot, what this sofa could look like over here or what it could look like in a different fabric, or in leather or whatever. If you can just sit there and say those things and create images in real time with your client, what a elevated experience that is. Right. And I know there might be a pushback where it's like, yeah, but can't like everybody do that now? Yes and no. Like everybody has this technology and it's only going to get better. So if you just sit back and say, well, I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to do it this way as I've always done it. You will miss out because those people are probably sitting in their living room dropping stuff in Nano Banana, in Gemini, in Chat GPT, like they're doing it for the most part if they have time themselves because they're curious, it's kind of fun, and even though they hired you, like, they're still gonna do it for a lot of these people, and I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Well, that's not my client." Yes, it is. It's a slim few that has not wanted to see what would happen in their house if they drop in something different or say, "Change my paint color to this." Realistically, it's just human curiosity. And you can say, well, that's not my client, but they're still probably doing it even if they hire you because either they've done it and it was fun and hilarious with the results that they got, or it was something that, slim few didn't even want to try and just know that they're going to hire a professional. But then there's others that are just like curious and they're like, I just want to see what happens. And, if I can do this myself, great. I won't have to hire a designer. And I think that's the mentality of a lot of people right now where they want to try it. On the flip side, I see the people that see the value in the expertise and know that an image in AI is not nearly the same as in person professional expertise, right? So, years of just understanding how things work because you've done it a million times. Like in the real world, where if you were to say to something to Chat GPT, you're going to get an average answer based off of the information that it was able to scrape up for you for your context, not from somebody that's been doing it for 20, 30 years in the industry and can look at an image or look at a plan and say, well, that's not right. Half the time, if you do that with AI, they're going to be like, oh no, sofa right up to the fireplace. Beautiful. Looks great. What else do you need? How else can I help you? It's bullshit. Like it is. Like at this point in time, half of the things that AI says is still wrong. And so I see these people trying to say, "Hey, Nano Banana's here. You should go drop this into your room." And they're teaching everybody, right? Because they don't care. They're just here to make a quick AI buck and teach everybody about the latest and greatest. This is just their topic for today. They're going to try and infringe on the interior design profession. So these people will say like, take this floor plan, take this design board, and then here's the prompt, and you can turn it into a video. And while you can, and I do, what they are not seeing in that video or the images that they had created that are not design concepts because they made them in Chat GPT. So half of that stuff is bogus, right? Or the majority. And so they're taking this and they're dropping it and they're saying, turn this into a video. And it looks right when you first look at it. But then the more you look at it, you're like, that is not even the same floor plan. Like, there's no door here. This got switched. There's no window. Why is that over there? Like, that's not even the same sofa that I put in here, right? But they don't know what they're talking about. And so to them, they created these cool images. And if your intention is to not be accurate with what is real in real life and just to create cool content, you won. That looks cool. But when you look at it further, you're going to see that like a professional could never use something like that as something that they would send to their client because it was sloppily done. It didn't make sense and it's going to totally misconstrue the concept that the designer has probably come up with. So it is not a helpful tool in some of the ways that people that don't know what they're talking about but have access to this technology are trying to teach people. So they want to empower, and I'm talking about like these tech pros or people that are riding the coattails of the AI, boom right now, where they're like, you should be doing this. Why hire a designer? All this stuff. And it's like, you don't get it. You don't understand that if you want a good design, those people value the professional insight, the years of experience, and the fact that they could look at the video that you just shared and pick out 25 things that you missed that were wrong. So if you want to really drop in a picture of a floor plan and a design concept, and even if you use your words and say, here's the scale for this and here's the scale for that, it's not accurate when you line things up after. And that takes the disconcerting eye that these people don't have. They're not professionally trained, right? So I think we're going to see a boom in this even further, especially with those that are grasping at straws that might not be getting work because maybe they're just not, a professional designer. And maybe they kind of came in because they had decorated a few houses and were told that they had a good eye. But realistically, I think a lot of us know what that story is, right? You try and find something to keep you relevant and to keep you afloat once you can no longer do e-design and cookie cutter design that you see all over Pinterest and all of that, right? Now AI can do that. AI is cookie cutter design. There's no innovation. And if you do give it the innovation to say, hey, I don't want all of this, exact stuff that you see directly coming from what's hot right now on social media. I want you to put my personality in it. I want to see this type of vibe. I want to see a combination of this. And, here's my whole story. It just can't do it. And for that reason, I see that, and I don't want to call them designers because they're not designers and they're not decorators, but I know you guys, they're influencers. And there was this boom on social media of people that I can sell products and I can sell links and I can, have a reward style and an Amazon and I can just sell all of these design concepts. But you're just selling regurgitated design. You're selling catalog design, and that does not make you a designer. So, same thing with ChatGPT. They are selling cookie cutter design, and those are now the same thing. So, what sets you apart? The knowledge and understanding of how this works, how it all works, getting from concept to execution and pulling it together. And that is something that we need render people to figure out how and where you're coming in with your skill level because they are very much needed. You are professional, you've been doing this for years. You know how to look at a floor plan, you know how to correct a floor plan from designers that make mistakes, right? Or say, "Hey, that sofa doesn't fit. That light's too big for the island," you know? You know because you see in the two-dimensional plan, the three-dimensional, visual, but then you live in the real world. So I think that people that render and do plans are highly talented people that are very well trained and many even have code knowledge too. So I think that this position as a renderer is not going anywhere, but I do see it evolving into more of a edit and accuracy type of role where you're not doing as much of the meticulous constant clicking to create floor plans, renders, all that stuff. Now you're almost like doing shortcuts to import, right? We're already doing that. We're importing plans and it's building them instantly. And then we're going through and we're editing. We're making sure that the walls connect, that the measurements are correct. We're adding all the details in after that. And then we're finding the product and we're making that product look realistic and to scale. So all of that is still so important for actually building right? Like you can't have I would love to see it actually. I would love to see just a chat GPT floor plan built in real life. Wouldn't you? Because I want to walk through that house. I want to see the selections. I want to see the scale. I feel like it would be very Zoolander where he's like, what is this, a school for ants? And then he's like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, never mind. If you're not, go look at Zoolander 1 at the end of the movie. But I feel like that's kind of AI where it's like, this looks so awesome on the computer screen, but then you actually made it and it's like a shoebox or something weird with like a maze inside. I don't know. AI is weird. Humans are needed. Rendering has evolved and is evolving and is changing in the fact that it shouldn't and doesn't need to cost that much money to be able to create images that do the same thing. The reason why we hired somebody to do that, which was give that visual to the people that hire us for the visuals, right? That's why they hire us because they can't vision or they don't know what goes together and how to make this vibe in their space, right? Obviously, it's more than just that, but still, like we now can adapt, we can change our services, we can change our deliverables, and we can innovate. This technology means innovation. And if you don't see that this means innovation and you see it as a threat, then you're not going to do well here. Okay. You're not going to do well in the next 3 years if you think that rendering is sticking around in the way that it currently is. It's not. I mean, the first thing that we were able to do, honestly, when it came to like renders and speeding up the process that I found beneficial was taking an image, three different sides of it on a white background, and then being able to upload that and turn it into a downloadable model that you can then import into your render. So you didn't have to render and shape a chair for 30 minutes, right? Like, or 2 hours. Sometimes these intricate things to model take forever. And don't even get me into why did manufacturers not just create one model and put it on their website? Why did we have to spend hours individually creating the same model over and over again for a product that they've had on their website for 3 years? Like that shit pisses me off because like we didn't have to do that to be able to sell your product. And now we don't at all. Now we can just take a picture, drop it in an image, right? But there's still people out there. The majority of this industry is still trying to force these renders. And they love that you can speed up and do little shortcuts like that, but they haven't thought, why am I even doing this in the first place? Why didn't I just skip this 14-hour step altogether for them to say, no, let's move this over here. And then you're, back at square one. You got to go back and you got to redo a lot, right? So think about it. This is not replacing. I need to make sure that I'm clear. Okay. This is not replacing. This is the next step in evolution for better, more reasonably priced services that don't have back and forth with monotonous. Our industry is antiquated. Our technology has been stolen from us and given to the masses. You can control this. You can adapt to this. Okay. You just have to find your thing and how your professional background will move you forward in the world of AI and technology. Don't be afraid of it. Okay. See where it is in your current programs and see how it can save you 20 minutes in a day. That's all I want you to be doing is looking at the tools you already use and say, if I click that up there, is that going to give me back 15 minutes of my day? Am I not going to have to sit here and go line by line in the spreadsheet? Am I not going to have to sit here and do this one silly task that I do every week that I know can be done faster, but I don't know if I have the tools? You probably do. They're probably already built into your systems, whether that's for rendering or that's for just Gmail and every day. So I hope that that was helpful. I do talk about this a lot in my trainings. So I have a lot of classes actually coming up. If you want to go check them out, it's AI for interior designers.ai/classes. Those are open enrollment. I've got them going through April. The second semester of the certificate program, we already have one semester under our belt. I can't even believe it, or at least the core classes. That is going to be opening here very soon. So I will be linking that. Make sure you are on my email list too. So if you go to AI for interior designers.com, subscribe, you will get my Monday download. We were doing it on Fridays, but I was killing myself to get it out on Fridays and I didn't want to keep doing that. So I'm going to send it on Mondays. So that comes out on Mondays. Sometimes I give little coupon codes to my classes only in my emails. So if you don't actually read them, you should start. And if you don't subscribe, you should. So I will link that below. Aside from that, I will be traveling a lot. So I figured I'd give you a rundown today and just kind of let you know where I'm going to be at. Okay. So in February, I'm going to KBIS and they've asked me to give a kind of a state of the union address in the world of AI. So I'm going to be talking about where we're at, what's next, what you should be doing, how you should be preparing. I've got 5 tips for that. That is, bring up my calendar here. So that is going to be on Wednesday at KBIS. If you're going to KBIS, would love to see you. I'm just going to be floating around most of the days. It's also my 10-year anniversary with my husband. So he's going to be coming down with me to Orlando for the weekend before. Side note, we eloped 10 years ago to San Diego. So when we eloped, we got married at the courthouse. And I never had a wedding. I never really actually even envisioned myself having a wedding. But anyway, we did that. And my sister lives in San Diego. She was stationed there at the time in the Navy. And she had just had her daughter. That's why we were going out. And I found out I was pregnant after we got engaged. Really, after we got engaged. I promise. We were together for 6 years and then got engaged the day after I found out that I was pregnant. So we got, we eloped in San Diego and never had a wedding. 10 years later, I was like, hey, what are we doing for our 10-year? I was like, I got to go to Orlando. So guess we'll be going to Universal. Whatever. I don't care. I love him. That's all we need. Okay. So anyway, when I'm in Florida, I will be speaking on the 18th. That's that Wednesday. So that's when I'm going to be at the next stage. All of this will be in my event calendar on aiforinteriordesigners.com as well. Okay. And if you follow my emails, you'll also be getting those too. So if you're at any of these, just come say hi. I would love to meet you guys. In real life, I am fairly shy. So to be totally honest with you, definitely introverted until I feel comfortable. And I know it's 5D. I just always, misconstrue the name of her podcast. So sorry, Jody, but very excited to be chatting with you about humanizing AI. That's also what I will be doing on Thursday morning. So the podcast studio is there at KBiz. It's like a glass box of emotion, and we're all going to be sitting in there just chatting to our mics and interviewing each other. But I'm excited to interview my friend, Sharon Sherman, on Thursday of Time and Place Design, also KBB's 2025 Person of the Year. Very well deserved. If you know Sharon, like she should have been KBB Person of the Year years ago. She's awesome. So she will be chatting with me on Thursday at KBiz, and then I'm going to head home. So I'm around. If you want to hang out, let me know. My schedule's booking up, but I'm going to be doing stuff. So let's see if we can meet up. Now, after that, if you're a photographer and you're listening, I do a lot with AI for photographers. I just kind of made some cool friends in this industry, and I get to go and talk to a lot of them because the photographers I speak with are architectural photographers. I'm going to be in Austin, March 4th through the 6th. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a workshop there if you're a photographer on Friday. It's hands-on, but I will be also speaking. And just so you know, when I speak to other industries that are related or not, I do not teach them how to do their jobs. Okay, like I know my job, and my job translates to educating business owners in general how to use AI. I'm not teaching them how to take photos or edit them. There's probably somebody way better at that than me. I'm telling them how to find AI in the tools they're already using and simplify their workflows with it. Okay, so I will be in Austin for that, March 4th through the 6th. After that, you'll find me in Orange County or LA the week after. So I have to just confirm the date because I don't have the exact day in here, and that's my bad. I think it's the 11th, March 11th. I will be in LA for IDS, and I will be doing a presentation there. So if you're in LA, this is a quick trip, but let me know if you're going to be around. I'll be there the 10th and then leave the 12th. Also, I will be teaching in March for Luann University. So on Fridays, I'm going to be teaching AI classes. They do start in March, run through April on Fridays. And then I got a 3-hour class after that I'll be teaching for Luann U. Different content. Okay. Just so you know, I don't teach the same thing twice unless if it's a CEU class, because even when it is a CEU class, I update it that 20% that I can every time because AI changes. Okay. So for Luann, the entire curriculum is different, but there is sometimes overlap just because tools are tools and I have to talk about them. Okay. But what I'm going to be teaching, the takeaways, I have never taught before for Luann U. After that, let's cut to the end of March. Who lives in Seattle? Because I will be out there. Seattle Design Center. I'll do a keynote for AI. I believe I got to just double check. I have it all in my calendar, but I need to give you exact dates and times, which you will find in my calendar if you want to attend or buy tickets to any of these things. Some of them are free, some of them are closed. And then some of them you can buy tickets to as well. So that will be at the end of Seattle. And I will also be out there doing, after I speak, I will go over to Kravit in the Seattle Design Center and do a hands-on generative AI workshop for Elliot there. So that will be fun because we're going to take out our phones. We're going to walk through the showroom. We're going to find a frame and a fabric, and we're going to make some mock-ups real time. So that'll be fun in Seattle at the end of March. And then we get into April. That's just the next, 45 days? Okay, so then we get into April, and I will be continuing to wrap up those 5 sessions with Luann, and then that 3-hour session on the 17th. So I am going to be at Dallas Design Center. I will be speaking with Jackie from the Home Designers Guild, and per program and just how cool that is if you haven't checked it out. So I will be at Dallas Design Center for that. And then I'm going to pop right over to, I'm pretty sure we're just confirming this, ASID conference. So if you are an ASID member, hopefully I will see you right after. I'm pretty sure it's the 16th. Just confirming that. And then the next day, 3-hour class with Luann. So the week after that, I will be in Raleigh for the exciting windows, maybe also the IWCE. I cannot remember if I'm speaking there. So if you are involved in the IWCE and if you have asked me to speak, I got it blocked out, but I don't know. I've been asked so many different places, as you can see. That's the one that I'm like, I got to send an email and just make sure, because I will definitely be speaking at Exciting Windows for Luann's group there on Friday, the 24th. And that'll be in Raleigh. Then I'll pop right over to High Point, and I've got stuff planned for High Point. So my goal is to be leaving High Point on Monday because holy crap, it's a lot. Yeah, that's just through April. So, quicker trips. I do have small kids, so I try and be quick about it, but I love getting out there and talking to you guys and being able to have real conversations. I feel like I've had the most real conversations in the past 2 years since I've been able to do that, and just like make friends with you guys on a more personal level that is not the internet, like back, like, when we were kids. We got to go outside and make friends and hang out together. I like doing that. And I am excited to do more of that this year. So I hope to see you guys. But I will definitely have all this posted. Make sure you get my newsletter, which goes out on Mondays. It's called The Download. Just go to aifrontierDesigners.com and subscribe there in the footer. Other than that, that's all I got for today. So I will talk to you guys next time. But have a great day. Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the AI for Interior Designers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and tune in next week for more AI tips for your design business. See you next time.